In this video, I want to cover 4 new functions that have been added to the FPS template plugin, and that is relating specifically to serializing, deserializing, and construction of the firearm and all of the attachments. So to start from the beginning, we have the SerializeFirearm function, which can easily be found by just searching Serialize, which you will also see load text from file, DeserializeFirearm, and ConstructFirearm. So these are all part of the static library that is included in my plugin. There will be more later in regards to actually interacting with files from Blueprint, as currently, at least as far as I know, there isn't a way to do that natively. You have to write or use another plugin that is written in C++ to give you Blueprint. Well, basically it's just exposed to Blueprint. So to begin, what does SerializeFirearm do? Well, it takes our firearm here. So here I have it, my firearm by default, muzzle brake, short barrel, handguard, blah, 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 all the parts to it. And I'll go ahead and actually print out the result for you so you can see it. It should be visible for about 10 seconds. So if I press Y, as you can see, here we have the log. It contains the firearm class, all the parts, and as well as the offsets and all that fun stuff. So if I go ahead and basically that's just what that's doing is it is constructing out of all the parts, all of the components, and the base firearm, a JSON string for us to either save to disk, compress and send to an API to be stored in a database somewhere, and retrieved later to be reconstructed. And obviously our deserialize and construct firearm will take care of that. So let's go ahead and serialize the firearm real quick. So again, you can see by default, we just have the hollow sight, the normal muzzle brake, no forward grip or anything. Let's go ahead and add this up. So I'm going to switch this. I'm going to go ahead and add a suppressor. I will also add a light laser. I will add a pick rail attachment with the vertical grip, and I will switch this out with the thermal sight with the magnifier on top. And I will go ahead and, for example, move the magnifier all the way forwards as well. So that way it cannot be aimed, as you can see here. However, you still have all these and everything is still functional. So I'm going to go ahead and press Y, and it will go ahead and construct it for me. Now, just for testing purposes, because again, this is a work in progress, I have it set to automatically copy to my clipboard. So what I can do here is I have the file that it loads from, select all, delete, Control V, make sure I have the light and laser, forward grip. This is the new list here. And as you can see, here we have the part offset of 10 for the sight, thermal sight. So we know that we're good to go. All right, so now let's move on to load text from file. So obviously you see here I'm on serialized example.txt, and that is the file name that I am passing in. So I'm going to have more parameters here, such as the file path, so you can have a little more flexibility there. But what we do is we load this up into a string, returns whether or not it was successful, and it basically just outputs the string for us. So all the contents of this file, which would be everything in here. After that, we call DeserializeFirearm, which obviously, as the name states, will deserialize the firearm, so it'll construct it into my structure here. So Firearm. So once it creates that struct with all the information in it, we can call ConstructFirearm, which, as you can see here, takes in that structure, as well as a world actor. So this world actor is just so we have the ability to actually spawn the firearm, in which case it returns the firearm. So what I do is I just call a function that's already set up on my character component called addExistingFirearm. And here all I'm doing is printing out the error message that it may return if there is one. So I'm going to remove the add firearm so I do not spawn with one, and then I will go ahead and construct one when I press U, which it should contain all the information that we had before. So if I press U, as you can see, we have our firearm now, and even the optic is slid all the way forwards where it's supposed to be, or where it was saved at. So we got everything there. And we have everything just like before. So we know that we're good to go. So all it's doing is it's reading through our JSON object here, well, JSON string here, whatever you want to call it, and it is deserializing it into a ustruct, then that uStruct is getting returned and constructed via, well, obviously another function call. So this is going to be improved upon. Right now, for example, I don't need to have it, I don't need to be going based on the component name. I plan on replacing this with like indexes or something like that. This is just to keep it readable for me currently as I work my way through this and I'm testing. So it'll be cleaned up a little bit. And then I'd like to have, I'll eventually get there, a way to compress this string down. So it's not going to be, you're not sending a giant string over the network or anything like that. But then as you can see, if I go back and I re-plug in add firearm, so we spawn with the default firearm, this is our default. So thought that would be kind of interesting. Thought you, well, yeah, this will be very useful for some of you, especially those of you that are working on any sort of, I guess, persistent, or you need to be able to save it in some manner or another. So yeah, that pretty much holds all the stats that you need and a little bit extra. So I haven't actually tested with the forward grip, so here we have the normal forward grip. Let me slide it forwards, and I'll grab the auto filter. Go ahead and save it. Go to, where's my folder? I'm blind as a bat. Select all, paste, save. And let me disconnect it because I need to set up a way to actually iterate through the firearm and destroy all the parts to it. I'll get there eventually. And when I press U, we now have the new firearm. All right. So the one thing that it did, yes, I remember now. I actually got to set this up. I know exactly what I did. So I set it up for the parts that are directly connected to the firearm, such as the optic. This will get set. This will not. However, all I literally have to do is just copy 3 lines and paste it into another section and it'll work. So that'll be fixed before this video even gets uploaded or finished uploading. But anyways, you can see firearm set up. Completely missed. And we're good to go. All right, so that pretty much wraps up the new functionality here. If you want to see an example of the error message, I can do that with ConstructFirearm. So basically, constructing the firearm requires you to be the server, or at least have authority. You can ignore the shadow. I don't have the third person visible right now. I hid it. So when I press U, as you can see, it prints out no authority. That's to let us know that we're trying to construct the firearm. We're trying to create the firearm without server privileges or without being the authority. Because again, you want the server to create the firearm. The client just receives what the server creates, basically. So yeah, that sums it up. If you like all this and you're curious and want to check it out, you can find a link to this plugin in the description below. And if you have any questions or anything like that related to this or game development in general, feel free to hop in my Discord that is also linked down below, and I'll try to help you out. If you also like what I'm doing and want to help support me, you can find a link to my Patreon as well in the description below. And if you donate $10 or more, you get access to, well, permanent access to my Team Deathmatch tutorial series with over 90 videos. So I'll see you in the next video.